people seem to want the cheapest or the personality they prefer. In the OpenClaw community, people actually choose to route to Claude, particularly Opus 4.5, because they like the personality better than, say, Codex.
Maybe, but Dave, that's kind of like imagining you had two accountants and one slightly prettier than the other. It's like you'll use the prettier one a little bit, but like you're just going to use the better one or the cheaper one, right?
I think the better one.
Well, you're a rich Brit, so you'll use the better one.
Why, hello, friends. Welcome to More or Less. How are you, Morans?
Hey, Jess.
Doing well.
How was lunch? We were having lunch in the same restaurant as usual.
We were talking capital. What else do we do?
Yeah, talking about capital.
Well, this is an exciting week to be doing the pod because there has been a lot of technology news.
Stuff going on. Very exciting.
We're going to dive into it. Some of the people on this pod are even involved in said technology news.
Some of the people on this pod broke the technology news.
You know, it has been, it's always busy. I don't know, but it's an exciting time. And of course, we're talking about the OpenClaw, OpenAI news, but there's a lot of other things. Information reported today that Meta's smartwatch plans are back on. So we can do a wonderful poll about who is going to buy a Meta smartwatch, considering I still don't have any smartwatches. I'll probably be on the negative side of that.
That's really confusing to me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's against brand, but you know, I
Do you
try.
have smart anything?
I am trying to be less connected to my devices. So I just have watches that I like to wear. I do not have an Oura ring yet, although I'm thinking about getting one because it tracks stress levels now.
It does.
That's what I'm interested in. But also, I want to make sure we have not circled back with 3 VCs and a journalist on this pod. We have not circled back recently to the fundraising market, to the state of startup investing. There have been a number of major rounds that are in the process of closing or have closed. Anduril, the information has new reports out about, obviously Anthropic. So I want to get to that too, because, you know, the people are here for the VC. Speaking of VC, those watchers will notice we're down a VC. I just have to explain to the people that it's snowing in Jackson Hole, and then they will understand why Sam Lessin is not on this late afternoon podcast taping.
But he likely will come on. He'll have a grand entrance. So just stay tuned. He'll jump in. Don't worry.
He'll probably be wearing a beacon.
Wait.
He's here. He made it.
Welcome, Sam.
All right, guys, start rolling. I have things to say.
That could not have been more perfect.
No, what do you mean we've been rolling? I just explained why we were down a VC and then you popped on.
So
That was a
I have
great
somewhat
entrance.
bad news, mostly for my wife, but maybe for Dave and Britt as well. I may have just Dan Corned myself.
What? You broke your collarbone?
I'm going to do the podcast and we'll see how it feels.
No, we're not doing the
Oh, no,
podcast.
Sam.
Guys,
No,
let's
it's fine.
pause.
It's fine.
I do not want to do a podcast when you may have broken your collarbone,
It's
Sam.
fine because it'll be kind of funny and we'll get to check in next week. It's fine.
We told you we'd make a grand entrance, everyone.
So here's the deal.
Sam, does this mean you're not going to Alaska? Don't you want to go to urgent care and take care of it so you can go to Alaska?
An hour won't make a difference. If it's a broken rib or whatever, I'm going to have to do whatever. Here's the upshot. I did the classic thing, which is I was so proud of myself. I was on the top of 4 Pines with 15 minutes before the podcast. And I had a great run. It is in awesome shape, like blower pow all the way down. And then I was scooting across the lower Hobacks in those huge fucking icy moguls. And I basically
Which we skied 5 times today.
Yeah,
okay.
it's fine. I was just trying to go a little extra fast. And I basically went over the handlebars, into my pole, into my beacon, into my rib. And I was like, ow, that hurts. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, my arm hurts. And so then I just skied home. And I was like, this isn't too bad. But then I would take my ski boot off and it definitely hurts a lot. So we'll see. We'll see.
Sam, this is not taking care of your body. These injuries, like the swelling in the next half hour could go crazy. And we're back.
We're back.
From urgent care.
Do we want to give the prognosis, Jess?
We're giving the prognosis. Sam did not break his shoulder, his rib, or his collarbone. So he's in significant pain, but it's not broken. So anyway, dear listeners, Thank
Great.
you for that. Now we are ready. It may or may not show up, but it will have nothing to do with his perfectly intact bones. So, okay, let's start with OpenClaw. So the information reported this week that the founder of OpenClaw was going over to OpenAI. The announcement was quickly followed by OpenAI announcing that the news was true. And interestingly, that a new foundation for this red hot open source project that we've been talking about nonstop on this pod called OpenClaw, this foundation would be established. And who would be on this board of said foundation? Well, none other than Dave Morin. So we are honored to be in the presence of OpenClaw Foundation board greatness. Dave, what can you tell us about this exciting project? Don't laugh.
The claw is the law.
The claw is the law.
Thanks for the good intro, Jess. Yeah, I mean, the really good news for the OpenClaw community is that the open source project will be managed and looked after by the OpenClaw Foundation. We're in the process right now of getting all of the proper structuring set up. And it's just super good news. I mean, I think it's great for all of the developers and builders and hackers out there. You know, this is as near as we can tell, the fastest growing open source project in internet history. There's a lot of people building on it. And so maintaining the open source project itself and the ethos of that is really important. And, you know, I'm really grateful that Peter has trusted me with helping him figure out this part of the equation. I think, being part of it from the sort of beginning of January, late December, you know, we've been talking about a lot on the pod. It's just been a really fascinating experience. And I feel, lucky to reapply some old skills that I have in developer platforms and ecosystems from the 2000s to a new era. So it's been fun so far.
You don't feel old, do you, Dave?
No, we don't use that word.
Never.
So, and again, I know there's a lot of inside baseball, Dave, that you don't want to talk about, which makes sense. But obviously, Peter Steinberger, the founder, going to OpenAI to build more personal agents. It just seems like we're, on one hand, this is totally validating for the personal agent idea and the concept. But we also now have this race between OpenAI going hard at it. I reported with my colleagues in the information that Meta was making a big play for Peter to join as well. Meta matched this news and, within 24 hours with releasing a new, or talking about a new Manus agent coming from an acquisition they did. So, is this full on, what are we to make of this? And which agent is going to win if, we're at this point where everyone just seems to be moving very quickly to have very similar products?
Well, I think it's interesting that Manus was able to launch that so quickly, which means clearly they had been probably working on it throughout the OpenClaw negotiations. I don't know, just wondering.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, probably since they acquired the company.
Yeah, but I think the difference is Manus is in the cloud, right? And OpenClaw is literally on hardware on your own computer, and it's a thing that you own and Meta doesn't own. And so I think, the people that are going to leverage Manus AI, fine, sure, it's an agent. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of these types of agents out there and new platforms where you can build your own agent. The question is, do you want to own that as an individual on your own hardware, so that you for sure have full control over it? Or do you want to offload that into the cloud somewhere that another company owns? And I think that was the power and is the power of OpenClaw and why people are loving it so much. And it doesn't make sense for anyone else, like one of the big, the big tech companies, to have a competitive version of this, because they're not, and inherently it has to be open source. It has to be distributed. And so that's the big OpenClaw advantage.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps only Apple has the technology and the ability to deploy personal AI to, the edge, I guess, onto people's personal devices, because that's their business. But Britt's right. I think the entire ethos of OpenClaw is to give people a way to own their own data, to own their own personal AI experience and to pull it completely out of the cloud. And, that's not going to be something that everybody wants or needs. I think there'll probably be billions of people using cloud-based versions of this. But, for the people that do, which it seems like there's quite a lot of people out there that are interested in owning their own data, then the open source model really matters.
Yeah. And I think the big question too will be like, who can deliver a really great consumer experience? Because privacy will win over some users, but probably most. The history of the internet has been won over by convenience, and it's just early. I still, Jessica check-in, coding, developer, whatever we're in, now that I'm probably 8 days into my AI coding journey, I'm just using Cowork and OpenClaw like constantly.
Interesting. What are you building?
And sometimes I forget. Well, Dave, I think I'm building an app every day. It's our kids' ski break, so I'm on vacation, still working. But I'm building an app every day. I have not built my app yet because I had to go to urgent care when I was going to build my app. So I might have to build my app this evening. But it's everything from, I did some really cool analysis of years of information subscriber sentiment data that has to do with showing correlation to how public stocks move. And newsflash, turns out there is a correlation between the sentiment data and what public stocks, tech stocks do over the next 3 months. So that's not an app per se, that's analysis. But I built a social media app that my team is now using that I uploaded online, and I'm looking for more ideas. So, but anyway, my biggest problem with these things is I forget what they're doing because I go off and do something else and I come back and I'm like, wow, that PDF is done. What? Oh yeah, I asked it to do that. So, but we're going to move on. We've talked a lot about bots, but we had to circle back to sort of note this development. We've reached a new interesting phase. I am also just so tickled would be the wrong word, but the Meta OpenAI rivalry is rearing its head in all sorts of ways. We also saw today that Charles Porch, a senior, what would you call it? I should say his disclosure as a friend, because sometimes people get mad when I don't say that. But Charles, who ran Instagram, some of the most important relationships, including a lot of their celebrity relationships, is going to OpenAI to do a similar role there. So I think we have now two very, very recent data points of how this rivalry is rearing its head. And obviously, there's been a lot of poaching back and forth between the two companies. But
Jess, do you have any speculation as to why Charles would make the move from Meta to OpenAI?
I don't, but I think what's interesting to me about it is we saw the poaching of the poaching is like gone beyond AI researchers too. So I think it's like a very interesting,
a new wave of poaching.
And there's been plenty of that already, but it's interesting to me. I mean, these companies I think you can always tell a lot about a company from who it sees as its greatest rival. Like I remember years ago, it was probably a decade ago. And I don't even know if Sundar was the CEO of Google yet. When did Sundar become the CEO?
No, it was shortly after I left Google, maybe like 2013.
I mean, Charles was at Meta for 15 years, right? I mean, that's a really good run, right? And you could argue that OpenAI is entering its 2010 Meta era, right?
No, it is, right? And I guess the point I was just saying, zooming out from one move, is I remember when Sundar wrote a memo about Google's biggest problem shortly after becoming CEO, or maybe shortly before. And it was all about Amazon. And at the time, you would not have found a single article that had really everyone thought Facebook with social was Google's biggest problem or something else, right? And here there was this memo being like, no, Amazon, which was getting into the ads business and absolutely has become one of Google's biggest rivals, and now in cloud with Google Cloud. And so I think if you want to be looking 6 months ahead to what companies are doing, what kind of employees they're poaching and who they see themselves as most competitive with, which is often not where the public narrative is, I think is really interesting. So now the public narrative is probably caught up around OpenAI and Meta. It wasn't obvious. And so I think it's like the exclamation point on that rivalry, if you will. And we'll see where OpenAI goes with ads. I mean, we have They're now in beta or whatever. Like you can see, have you guys seen an OpenAI ad? I have not.
I haven't seen an OpenAI ad yet.
I paid for it, so I'm not going to see it. I have to have two accounts, I guess. It takes years to build an advertising business. I mean, just ask
it takes
anyone.
like 5 years.
Yeah, so it's going to be a long time.
Or longer. I mean, that's actually a generous way to look at it. I mean, it takes like a decade to build like a serious ad business.
Well,
right?
even something that you could point to and say, this is a revenue stream today, and it could become the kind of revenue stream that offsets some of this CapEx or whatever, right? But that's obviously a next front. And hardware too, we reported today in the information that Meta has had on again, off again smartwatch plans. I said earlier in this episode, who's going to buy it? Britt, are you going to buy it?
Well, and we know that you're not going to buy it.
I'm not.
I'm such a loyalist with my Apple Watch. By the way,
shocker.
First of all my fashion-y female friends shame me. Dave doesn't know this, and all the men that listen don't understand this, but like women often get shamed in the fashion circles for like wearing smartwatches because they're just not that cute. Like there are definitely cuter watches out there.
See, all my fashionables, you just have cute bands. You make it cute.
Okay, for normal everyday, but like I like to wear 24/7 because I'm tracking all my data.
No, you can't wear that thing to a black tie event. No.
Okay, maybe black ties where I cut it off. But anyway, I can dress it anyway. So this is just a problem for women. And I'm like, if Meta hasn't yet designed great looking eyewear for women.
Men do not talk about or care about
with
this.
their Meta glasses. Are they really going to design a cute watch for women? No. So maybe in the future, once they actually design something relevant for me.
I mean, maybe that should be their strategy.
Just to go after women.
Well, I've had conversations with the team working on the glasses about like more feminine form factors and styles. I think they want to just have a broader range. The electronics, though, are the size they are.
Just put some diamonds on those electronics. A little bit of
some diamonds.
They can be lab grown. It's fine.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, we'll see. And then we have the OpenAI Johnny Ive hardware plans that who the hell knows what they are.
No, they have been leaked, right?
They've been leaked like 9 times. What's the latest leak?
I don't know. Was this AI? You tell me, reporter.
This is reminding me of I don't know what year it was, but do you guys remember the Internet of Things era when everybody was talking about the Internet of Things?
This was Mark Andreessen's huge speech.
What year was that?
I don't know.
It was like early 2010s, right?
Yeah.
And I remember somebody went to CES that year and they walked around CES and they were like, this is not the Internet of Things. This is the Internet of putting iPads on things. Because everyone was like putting an iPad on refrigerators and an iPad on washing machines and an iPad. It was like a screen on everything, right? And that's what this all feels like to me. It's like nobody has any original ideas. So everybody's like, let's just put more electronics in people's pockets, on their wrists, on their face, and we'll see we'll see what works, right?
Well, we need to brand this moment. If that was the Internet of Things, is this the internet? I just feel like we need a catchphrase for this agentic world we're about to live in. This could be the moment, Jess, to define the moniker.
Well, I assume, I guess we have to get to what the point of this watch is. And I assume it's to get some ancillary power or features to the glasses, right? Like, because already one model, you have some kind of band, you have the neuro band, right?
I think this can do your fitness and everything else.
Yeah, but I think they want to control. They have a product where there's a band that allows like small finger movements to. Yeah, so
same with Apple, like sort of going in that direction with the Vision Pro and the whole finger gesture situation. Yeah, I think you're right. I think in the future, everyone is betting that we will have stuff on our eyes, ears, and wrists, hands, likely, maybe fingers with the rings. And we will not necessarily need our phones anymore because we will ourselves become computers. Is that kind of the direction you think we're going in?
I mean, I hope not.
Do you see yourself in that world?
What I want is, I do want more ambient recording. I think I've talked about this.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And not just as a reporter, but as a human. Like, I think I see the value of like having conversations where I really see it in a business context, having meetings recorded, having all of that is super useful for connecting dots and AI and all that kind of stuff.
But you as a reporter, don't you feel like the need to disclose everything to anyone you're talking to? Because you're literally having off the record conversations all the time.
But I'm also talking about meeting. Like if I'm having a meeting about an upcoming project internally, right? So it doesn't even have to be, but I bet if I had off the record conversations and said, hey, this is off the record, same terms. You've known me for 20 years. It's always been off the record. But by the way, I'm really interested in what you have to say, and I want to make sure I understand it and get the most out of it. So I'm going to record it for myself. Maybe 50% of people say no, but 50% of people say yes, right? Because, and they might, I would give them the same courtesy, right? If I were sharing my thoughts. So
all of this is going to be streaming back to some agent that you have somewhere. That's like your memory agent.
I'm like full agents everywhere.
Well, I know, but this will be like you're going to have your memory, like all the things Jess ever said and people she interacted with. And like, that just needs to live somewhere, right? Like right now, for me, it all lives in granola, and then I export all the indie files and I like port them over, but we're going to have a workflow now where that can change. And then you'll have your CRM that's like extracted from that, right? Because it'll know all the people you talk to the most. It'll probably have like, you can give it like personality scores, like the people you actually like. So do you think in effect, like you're going to have a friend ranking list of like who are actually your closest friends?
You guys, more or less thread is like pinned is one of my top texts, right?
Ooh,
because
we're
it's
pinned.
You guys are pinned. I didn't pin you. Apple decided to pin you, right?
Apple did?
So, I didn't pin you.
Yes, you
I don't
did.
know, maybe I accidentally pinned you. I don't know. I mean, I'm not but anyway, I think all of that, I don't know. We're going to veer away from the AI rabbit hole at this moment because I want to talk to good, hard, cold venture startup financing for a moment.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But anyway, the device war is heating up too. And I just hope we see things that are actually useful and we get out of these like Kickstarter projects, I
think it'll have like, this is the moment where it's expanding, right? Everyone's trying something, and then there will be adoption.
Oh, you wanted to coin it. That's a good exercise. Is it the internet?
Well, I want to coin the Internet of Things, the Internet of Wearables, but also the age, like what's happening with the agents, because we now have agents for everything. It's like Internet of Things was like when the internet just went into everything, and right now the agents are going into everything. I
think the concept of recording and memory might become core to this next. I mean, if you consider health tracking as sort of the precursor to this wave, which I think it is, and it's the thing that's driving adoption, a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm. I'd just like to point out that this was one of my 2026 predictions.
Oh, good. So check.
We're only a month and a half in.
Brett, we can go on vacation for the rest of the year because we got it right. Okay, guys. So startup financings, as you probably know, as venture capitalists, they're like coming hot and furious still. We're still seeing huge valuations. We have Anthropic, around, what was it, 380 billion? I should look this up.
It was something around that number, 300 billion.
And, OpenAI's round is coming together. There's been many people
reporting
call
these startups, Jess.
No, that's true. Okay.
What's the OpenAI round coming together at?
I don't know what we've reported or not. So we have to read the information to
a big number.
Public information. I think it's
more than the last one.
It's not going to be $1 trillion. Let's just say that.
It's like 2 Anthropics, basically.
I think it's 2.1 Anthropics or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what my guess is.
Yeah, that's probably the right range. Anduril, I know these aren't startups, okay, but Anduril in Talkstor is at 60. But there are many. Well, what are you guys seeing with earlier stage? Are we still in the get $1 billion Series A valuation mode in the Valley, or where are we at?
I think you're seeing the tale of two cities. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but narrative capitalism is driving a lot of behavior.
Oh, Sam would be so proud, Dave.
I mean, it's just true. Like there's a lot of name brand founders. A lot of what you just mentioned, Jess, is whatever you want to call it. The private Meg 7 is the new way I've been thinking about it.
Yes, I love that. I love that way of thinking about it.
The private Meg 7 and any sort of founder that can command a serious narrative has the ability to raise at, billion plus valuations for very big, crazy visions. And that world seems to be hot. And then on the other hand, there's still a lot of seed stage stuff going on, seed deals happening every week in AI. And then your typical sort of, there's a lot of incubator traffic out there, a lot of, OpenClaw projects. The word on the street is something like a third of Y Combinator is OpenClaw already. And their winter class, I don't know how far through they are. I think it's the first investor meets are 1 month from now. So, the market is pretty normative, I think, right now, in terms of what's going on. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out at the seed stage how to think about what's happening, just because things are moving so fast that what you invested in last year might already be in trouble. And how do you think about what to invest in this year? I think that a lot of that conversation is happening a lot.
Well, and I would double down and say that's not just with the startups themselves. Like, we were at a lunch today or yesterday, I forget. Then there's a CEO there, has a 600 person company, and is like, this is so exciting and awesome. And I'm terrified because I know I need to start pivoting my company to be more like agentic and AI enabled. And yet to move 600 people with the types of bureaucracy that we have. And this is only 600. It's not like multiple thousands or tens of thousands like some of the companies out there.
But 600 is a big company. Yeah.
It is, but like it takes time. That takes months, likely, not weeks, definitely not days. And the problem is like the landscape is shifting in weeks right now, not months. And so like you make a plan as a CEO and you're like, oh my God, 3 months from now, the whole plan was wrong. And that's how VCs are feeling too, right? In the investing cycle.
That person specifically was referencing something we've talked about the last couple episodes, which is this agentic engineering process.
Dark factories?
Dark factories where people are no longer reviewing code. The engineering process is moving extremely faster. And if you've got a 600 person organization, shifting to this is non-trivial. So I think this thing is playing out across the stack.
So here's a question for you guys. Someone approximated they're about, I'm going to get this wrong, but not really wrong. Maybe it's wrong. 500,000 software engineers in the Bay Area? Am I off by an order of magnitude?
Dave, you know the number in the world, isn't it? 4 million in the world. So
no,
1/8 of them in the Bay Area feels right.
There's around 3 million iOS engineers. There's around 4 million Android engineers. There might be some overlap.
Okay, here
but
we go.
I don't know. I think of it as like there's like around 10 million in the world.
So there are estimates that in the San Francisco Bay Area, there are about 400,000.
So 4% of global engineers are in the Bay Area.
What percentage of those do you think will be employed as software engineers in 3 years?
I think that the labor market drama is vastly overblown. I think that it's likely.
So give me a number.
I think that it will be.
Okay.
I think that everyone's going to continue to be building a lot of software. I think there's going to be more software being built. I actually think that the demand for software, I mean, Jess, as you were talking about earlier and you were telling me yesterday, now you're building things.
Right, but I'm not a software engineer. And if you were Microsoft and you employed 30,000 of these, are you really going to keep employing 30,000?
I don't know about that, but I don't know that means that these people aren't going to be managing software projects.
No,
somewhere.
But are they going to be paid to do software engineering? Right? Is their job?
Yes.
Okay. So you think?
I disagree. I'll take the under on that. I think more people overall will be building software.
Yeah.
But the number of actual software engineers will need to go down because one great engineer can do the work of many engineers, and their job will likely be to like manage and oversee some of these software engineering agents at the sort of like highest ranking of the company. So there will definitely still be a software engineering job title, but we will not have as many engineers. And I think people ranging from like the HR person to the marketing person to the Charles Porch, I don't even know,
I just don't agree.
person is going to, be enabled to build their own software too. And like
I
there'll probably
couldn't
have to be
disagree with
some
this
like
more.
checks and balances that go on.
I get to vote and then we can all vote. I am totally on Britt's side. I think, Dave, there's no way that companies that have software engineers, these companies rush to hire as many as possible at a range of skill sets. They have really excellent ones that are involved with key parts of their apps, and they have really mediocre ones. And these are also companies that are spending way more money than Wall Street wants them to be on infrastructure and going to way cut costs. So I think in 3 years, you'll be
But
down.
I guess, like, how are you framing this question? Like, this is really important.
It's a very simple question. If 400,000 people today are professional software engineers, and they are employed in the Bay Area, and they are employed by technology companies to come to work and build software every day, what is a number in 3 years of people who will be employed by tech companies in the Bay Area to come to work and build software every day? And I would not count
software engineers.
I would not count the journalist who uses AI to copy edit their story as a software engineer, right? Like, take the pool today and how many of them have jobs as software engineers? I mean, I'll also
Less
tell
than
you.
half? Do you think, Jess? What's your number?
Well, so I will go down in 3 years. I'll go down to 300,000, and then I think it probably drops.
After 3 years?
I think by then it will drop more precipitously. And I also
see 50%.
I think the operating variable here is in the Bay Area, because I think that everyone that understands how to build software is going to have more to do in the future than less. And whether or not they are doing a job in the Bay Area or somewhere in the world, I think that, everyone that understands software is going to be managing agents building software. They're going to be building software for more things, not less things. And I don't know whether they're all going to be in the Bay Area.
I like how you threw in our podcast title many times there, Dave.
No, but I'm using the Bay Area. I mean, Dave, it's healthy to have this debate. And by the way, this is the debate that is playing out across society, right? Like, it's just a debate at this point. And your point of view is very reasonable and is sort of the Optimus Maximus point of view. And I think Britt and I have a different point of view, which doesn't mean that the power of these coding tools won't be unlocked and show up in society in myriad ways. But in this same, I think this is going to be like taxi drivers with the rise of Uber, or what happens, to truck drivers as self-driving cars. Like, I think there will be a disruption. And it's not to say all these people will be unemployed. They might go build amazing businesses by themselves, doing all sorts of things. Like, I don't think we know, but it's fascinating. I would love to hear in the comments from our listeners and watchers about this.
Yeah, you should do an information poll too, Jess.
The interesting thing might be that both of our takes might be optimistic. If you take what Anthropic says seriously, which, Anthropic says no one will be doing software engineering 12 months from now.
Exactly.
And so if that is true, then Jess, San Francisco is Detroit.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well, but two things, and then we can move on. My opinions tend to be shaped by talking to my sources, and my sources tend to be the people who make these decisions and are thinking about them deeply. And so I actually think this is a range of people across a range of companies, and they are predicting this level of decline in the jobs. So this isn't, I form my opinions by talking to people.
Yeah, I get it. I think it might be possible that we don't know.
No, we really don't. That's why it's so fun. We have no idea.
I think it's so new. I mean, Jess, even the conversation you and I were having yesterday.
Yeah, about my building.
It's so amazing what people are doing. And people are operating at an entirely new level of abstraction in software. And so the idea that we're going to make less of it, and we're going to make less technology, less digital experiences, I just don't buy it. Like, I think we're going to make more.
No, but those things are two different things, Dave. I think you have to realize those things are two different things, right? People are arguably, well, I don't know if I agree with this. People might argue that people are very informed today. The number of people employed as journalists has been slashed over the last decade, right? Like, you can have an explosion in something while also having this particular profession very hard hit, right? And I think I'm totally with you. And I'm so proud, like, even the stuff that I've been playing with and sharing with my team, to see other people on the team just like pick it up and start building their own things. It's awesome. Like, and it's, but that's very different from the question of like, you know, how many engineers is Google going to have? Google's going to keep their engineers the longest. I think we should all admit that. I don't think Google's getting rid of them.
Well, Google's one of the big winners in all of this. So, like we've said from the beginning,
Google just can't fire an engineer for, you know, but
I think it's a really interesting question. Like, if you are, I think this is a really difficult question. Like, if you are a major CEO in Silicon Valley, are you really going to let go of 30% of your software engineers, 50% of your software engineers? There's no way.
over time, gradually.
I think the other thing to figure out, though, is like we're pretending that all of these places only have the best engineers who are really suited to what is to come next. And the story of the growth of the Valley over the last 20 years has been a mad dash for hiring and a mad dash for hiring software engineers. And I think there's probably a lot of slack in the system, for a lack of better word, too. And so I think that's why, that's also what's going to make this trend hard to really tease out, and why investors are so like obsessed with figuring it out, because you're going to have layoffs and layoffs and layoffs. I mean, you're sort of seeing this at Amazon, right? You're having layoffs and layoffs and layoffs that Andy Jassy is saying are just getting rid of bureaucracy. And then you're starting to have layoffs.
But that's a different thing.
No, but also, you know, I know this is shocking, but sometimes CEOs kind of manipulate the story a little bit. So like you can, when it becomes politically correct, AKA Wall Street and your employees will buy it, to admit that you're having waves of layoffs because of AI, then it will go from being we're stripping out layers of management to we have found efficiencies with technology to AI has changed. Like the narrative will just change. And we're sort of in that gray area now between, but it's going to take, you know, 1, 2, 3 outspoken CEOs just to say, look, when we started this company, however many decades ago, we organized it like this. Now we're going to try and organize it like this. And they're going to do it. And they're going to do it all in lockstep as soon as the tide turns. So it's sort of like who blinks first, is my opinion.
Yeah. And I also think it'll be more about less hiring of these engineers going forward. Like if you were going to hire X% more engineers every year, you probably would just stop that now and get better use of your current engineers that are in-house, because they can do so much
if
more.
You have the right skill set.
Sure.
I think that's right. But like, and that's where I don't know.
Can I also make an argument on the personalized builder vibe coding front? Like now I have all these friends and husbands that are building all these things.
But you have multiple
and I'm
husbands.
building all these things.
Right, you have to clarify. You have one husband.
Single husband.
Okay, yeah.
But like,
Unless
I mean,
there's
you're
something I
building a
should
new
know
app a
about.
day. Dave's building a new app a day. I'm building a new app a day. A lot of my friends, my like normie friends, including like all my mom friends, like my friends from Texas, they haven't even gotten in on this yet. So let's fast forward to when all of our friends who aren't super like early adopters are now vibe coding their own apps. They want us to try all their apps because they think it's so cool and interesting.
I have to play
We're going to have
Sam.
app overload in our life, and then we won't be able to keep up with it. Why are you playing Sam?
Because we have all worked on software systems. Like we've managed teams of people, worked in teams of people.
Well, no, actually,
I mean, Jess,
sort of do. Yeah, no, I do now.
Your system is very, very sophisticated, and you've been around the building of software. And so your ability to think about what you can build is vastly beyond people who have zero experience, right? And I guess this is my point, which is that this is still a very technical domain. And people are going to need to be able to like work with people that understand how technical this is. I mean, this whole OpenClaw thing really exposed this to me, which is like this town is really the tale of two cities also on this front, the technical people and the non-technical people. And the skills that it takes to make this stuff really work, even though it's really powerful right now, are still very technical. And I think that's not going to change for many years.
I mean,
I disagree.
So Dave, what I wanted to clarify, I am lucky to run a great engineering team, but I am not technical. And I don't need to be. I literally told Cowork to move the template so that the icon appears on the left, not the right, and to create two versions, one for headline and one for body text. And I just followed all of its instructions and it happened. So I don't, I couldn't set up OpenClaw by myself, but I don't know. We will have to return. I really am so interested in our listeners, viewers, to comment on if there are 400,000 people employed as professional software engineers in the Bay Area today, 3 years from now, what is that number? Share your number. We'll remember it. And we'll give you some cookies if you got it right.
How many months or years you think before your like normie friends that don't live in the Bay Area are going to send you their app that they just made? Because I think it's like 12 months.
But a lot of the stuff I make, Brett, I mean, it's not clear to me the workflow is to start sharing it, though.
I think people are going to start making random things. Like all my mom friends are going to start making their like carpool tracking app. They are.
Britt, they're not going to make apps.
I don't think so. I think they're just going to get the answer for themselves.
I think they're going to make apps. That's okay. You don't have to back my bet.
There's not going to be apps.
We have uncovered, I need them more in solo more often. I've uncovered some real sources of professional disagreement between you two. So one more quick hot topic before we wrap. So
is Sam okay?
Sam's fine. Sam, because he's skiing all day, has to cram all of his work into like 2 hours at the end of the day. And as dear listeners of this pod will now have heard multiple times, we just had a stint at urgent care that really sent us back. So I imagine he's doing business. I would think this is business. We all have business too.
It's fine.
But, okay. I want to just flag something that we haven't talked about a lot in this pod, but maybe we'll leave it as a little dangler. But the debates about government contracting of tech are heating up again. And like all these tech companies, it's been such a big headline, like will the U.S. government ban Anthropic or not? Have you guys been following this?
No, I haven't actually.
A little bit. I saw the headlines. I don't have the details.
Well, that's it. I mean, on one hand, you have everyone competing for the business. And this has been, of Department of Defense, U.S. government, whatever it is. That's been true always of tech.
I saw somebody called them un-American. Like why is that?
It's a great question, Dave. I'm not sure I know exactly the answer to it. I think a lot of it comes down to...
Are they trying to control access to it? Like they don't want the Pentagon using their models in certain ways? Is that what it is? Is that what it's about? Like in the one sub-headline I read, it sounded to me like Anthropic has decided to restrict certain aspects of how they use the product. And so because of that,
dispute. Yeah, it's a terms of use dispute.
What's the terms of use
un-American
dispute?
Oh boy, here we go.
Sam, how are you?
I'm fine. I told you I was fine.
The marital dispute at the beginning of this pod was really cute, you guys.
It's not
just it was nice how much
guys,
you cared.
How would we have known if he was fine? By the way, you can't move your arm or breathe, but it's not broken. So we're good.
Yeah, we're fine. By the way, it turns out that the more or less medical back channel is a hell of a channel. So thank you, Dave, for saying that.
We got you. We got you.
It's the best new group chat.
Sam, we're wrapping this episode by just giving a taste of... let's ask you quickly. 400,000 Bay Area engineers.
Oh, yeah. I want to know what Sam thinks.
People employed as professional engineers in the Bay Area currently. 3 years from now, what's your number? And then I'll tell you what everyone else said.
Well, did you guys discuss this Dave question of like, if you make things with bots, are you an engineer or just a user?
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yes, we spent way too long. You have to be paid by a technology company to do software engineering.
So it's 400,000 now, and how many years is it in the future?
3 years. 3 years.
200,000.
Yes.
Okay. That's Fred's number.
Me and Sam agree.
What's Dave's number? Is it like 100 million?
All of them.
No.
Yeah, Dave was like,
no,
more of them.
More. I'm a more.
You are a more.
Okay,
Great.
Going back.
You joining the Les family?
Yeah, sure. Will you adopt me?
You are welcome.
I've been really cynical on this pod so far, Sam. You're going to love it.
Someone
had
to do it.
fill the void. Okay, so yes, Anthropic and the Pentagon are fighting over terms of use. Meanwhile, XAI and everyone else are tripping over themselves to get these government contracts. I don't know where this goes. Anyone have thoughts? It's just a big. We hadn't talked about it, so I wanted to put it on everyone's radar.
I guess the question for me, here's the interesting question. Why is this debate between the Pentagon and Anthropic in the public domain? Like, who's
Price
someone
signal chat.
Probably
leaked.
Anthropic. They tend to write essays.
No, it can't be Anthropic. It has to be the government, right? That's how they play it, right? This administration.
That's true. Both of these are leaker. Well, Anthropic's not leaker. Yeah.
I guess the question for me is like, these types of things don't end up in the public domain unless someone wants them to be in the public domain. Like if we're arguing about terms of use, it's like too in the weeds, you know what I mean? For it to be a thing. And so that's my question is I'd be very curious as to like who's selling the story effectively to back into like what's going to happen.
Elon Musk is probably selling the story, don't you think?
No,
Maybe.
this sounds to me like the Pentagon. Like they wanted to use the models in a certain way, and Anthropic said, no, you can't. And so they're like, all right, we're going to go take this to the public.
I guess the thing for me on a lot, I was thinking, I have a tweet I wrote while in the backcountry today in my head. And
maybe that's why you ended up in urgent care.
Cow. And like, it's something along the lines, I haven't framed it yet exactly, of like the whole point, if intelligence becomes super cheap and abundant, then intelligence isn't worth anything. So like, we already have this going on with human intelligence in theory. Like I was like, there's so much more quote unquote intelligence in the world with these machines. So like supply of intelligence up. And because supply of intelligence is so up, unless somehow demand for intelligence increases faster than supply of intelligence, which I think is what some people argue will happen. I just don't believe it. Right. Then like actually intelligence doesn't become that valuable. And it's just kind of like it's just a commodity that's kind of cheap. You can get anywhere. In which case, I don't really understand why anyone cares, like why Anthropic thinks that they can hold the government ransom on a terms of use, because just someone else will just give them the intelligence, right? So I don't know. It's like there was this kind of story a long time ago when OpenAI decided they needed infinity money, where the story was race to AGI. Whoever gets to AGI first is the winner of everything and owns all of the intelligence, right? And it's like clearly bullshit then. It's now really clearly bullshit, right? Like there'll be lots of dealers of intelligence. And then the question is like, if there is, and if intelligence keeps getting cheaper and the cost of tokens keeps getting cheaper, like I don't understand how anyone can hold each other ransom effectively over terms of use, because you just like buy it from someone else.
It's like, what's the marginal cost per token where it does become commodity is kind of the question.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you think about it, it's like, let's pretend the humans produce tokens, right? You'd say humans produce tokens, but they're expensive, right? And you're like, why do you talk to like Claude and not a human? It's because the Claude produces cheaper tokens. There's still tokens. Like you could go to a psychotherapist and get the same analysis that Claude or GPT or whatever it gives you. It's just cheaper. Right. And so like, okay, like if tokens keep getting cheaper, like one, sure, humans can't produce them cheaply enough. So, you know, that's why you go from 200,000 developers to 100,000 developers or whatever. And like, you're just like, yeah, you also can't make any money as a company who sells tokens or intelligence.
That's possible. We just don't know.
There's a lot we don't know, it seems like.
Sam, I also think there's a social cost of talking to humans for tokens that you don't have to pay talking to bots.
I mean holistically, like the whole cost, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I gotta like drive. Like, but okay, so like if intelligence really does end up being like power, right? Here's the interesting thing about power: it's super regulated, right? Like you can only use PG&E, right? Like there's not an open market for power in most of the country, which is how it supports pricing. If there were an open market for power in the country, power would be unbelievably cheaper, right? But we have like regulated monopolies effectively in power that make these things kind of financially work and finance kind of PG&E or whatever, but people hate them. And like the justification is like, I guess all the infrastructure build out and spend that like is physically bound. I just don't think that applies to the internet or intelligence the same way, right? So unless you're going to be like, there's regulatory capture, and if you live in California, just like PG&E, you also have to use OpenAI, at which point it's just a regulatory arb game effectively. If open power, I just don't understand how you make any money on this, any of it.
That is the question.
I mean, Dave, you're Mr. Claw. Congrats, by the way. That's pretty cool. Like, I don't care what model it uses at all, right? Like, it's like, I don't believe that this is like a devil's in the defaults where like OpenAI is just like, be like, well, it's default OpenAI, so that works for us. I think people are just being like, well, I just want the cheapest shit, and it's all basically the same.
As long as it's good.
People seem to want the cheapest or the personality they prefer. Like that's what one of the more interesting
or the
things I'm
most
hearing
accurate, the best answers.
Well, no, in the OpenClaw community, people actually choose to route to Claude, particularly Opus 4.5, because they like the personality better than, say, Codex.
Maybe, but Dave, that's kind of like imagining you had two accountants and one slightly prettier than the other. It's like you'll use the prettier one a little bit, but like not like you're just going to use the better one or the cheaper one, right?
I think the better one.
It's
well,
also
you're rich,
not,
Brit, so you'll use the better one.
I think anyone would want the one that's correct.
But I don't know. Maybe and then we're going to bring this episode to a close because our dear listeners and viewers have been with us for some time now. But it's also not always clear. Like it's easy for you guys who play and test and compare them all day what's better, and then you use them enough, and you sort of get some instinctive feelings like, oh, this one doesn't get things wrong. But all of that is really converging. So I think this concept of being better will only matter on like in the most narrow of use cases.
Maybe, but like for health in particular, like you definitely don't want to be 1% off. Like, and I think a lot of people are going to be using
this.
But
how would you know? Like, you're not going to like run the longitudinal study to compare them.
Well, but it depends. I mean, like most of the things you're going to ask for health are like you can ask a nurse practitioner. Then you don't give a shit. Some things you'll be like, oh, I actually care about like the fanciest doctor in the world. I just think the routing becomes like so specific.
No, I think we are going to be ingesting a ton of our personal data through wearables and other testing, et cetera. And we are going to have a doctor as an agent that is taking care of us. And if that doctor is continuously getting things wrong, even on the margins, like that's going to become a huge deal and people will lose trust. And so I think that in healthcare in particular, that matters a lot to be accurate and precise. And so like right now, actually what you're seeing is Anthropic's done a ton of investing and like ton of commercialization in its healthcare infrastructure. OpenAI is doing a lot right now. Like there's a lot of acquisitive stuff happening behind the scenes.
Which, by the way, makes sense because they're realizing that base intelligence isn't valuable, right? It's a commodity. And so then you have to like climb up the...
And then this was when Sarah Fryer told me that they're looking at licensing IP for like drug discovery, right? Because the business model, she's the CFO of OpenAI, like, and this is something they're just looking at. It's an acknowledgement that like the raw tokens or the raw intelligence to like, in and of itself to everyone is not necessarily the great business, right? That it's more specialized use cases.
This is also the story of OpenClaw, which is that it's a great orchestrator across all of the different models. One of the big changes in the last week is a lot of people now have developed various skills that can route to the different models based on what the use case is in real time to lower the cost to the lowest amount possible, right? And I think what you're going to see is the rise of a billion bots, right? That cover every conceivable use case. And Britt, like I think your medical case will be, somebody will create the MedClaw, and people will route to the right models. The orchestrator will take care of all the problems that you just talked about.
Maybe we should create that one, Dave.
Maybe. But, it's, I don't know. I think, Sam, I think we're sort of keying in on something really important here, which is that the underlying tokens probably can come from anywhere. And how much margin there is in that business over time probably does look a lot like power, like Sam's talking about. And the real value is going to be in the orchestration.
Well, it's going to be in something that isn't abundant, is the point. Like, it's like, and it is interesting because I think the big difference, if I just go back to this, is like if intelligence looks a lot like the energy world, right? It resolves back to it in some way, shape, or form, but it doesn't have the regulation because it doesn't have the same borders. It's just like a very hard to understand how you ever make money in it.
Yeah, well, this will be why we've uncovered and left unresolved the big debates. Who knew? I have to do a little bit of a shameless plug for all you listeners out there who like tennis. I and the Information are hosting a very cool event right at the start of the Indian Wells tournament. And we are going to have about 30 VIPs. So we are very limited. And we're going to hit and play some tennis with Madison Keys, Grand Slam winner, amazing current player, Maddie Keys. And Darren Cahill, best known for currently coaching one Yannick Sinner. And then we're going to have a party and an awesome dinner. and very exclusive seats to the start of the tournament the next day. So if you're interested at all and you don't know where to find me, you aren't very intrepid, but find me. We have a couple of tickets left.
Did you see the recommendations my OpenClaw made on who you should invite based on my CRM?
I did, but then I was going to put them in my OpenClaw and actually filter them for who I should actually invite. So I haven't had time to do that yet, because it was a huge list.
You want my OpenClaw too, just to add in on the data?
Yeah.
This is one of the more fun use cases that I've seen a bunch in the last few days, which is people adding their bots to a group chat with me and having their bot explain things and get into the conversation. And it's pretty interesting, actually.
Oh my God. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
Oh my God. The Sam and Jessica bot conversation could go in so many.
You guys, let's put all of our bots into the more or less chat and see what happens.
That's going to be really feisty. I made my bot send Dave a Valentine's message, but then I forgot to actually confirm to deliver it. So Dave, I'll send that to you after we finish recording.
Classic. A classic, like, you forgot a Valentine's Day thing.
All right, guys. I've got to go. I have to pull a Sam this time.
All right.
I think we all have to go. Dear audience, thank you for listening to this wild episode, which had many threads, from the collarbone of Sam lessons still being intact to the future of employment in the software engineering sector to the rise of the OpenClaw Foundation. I hope you learned something, and we will see you back here next week for another episode of More or Less. Bye.
See you guys later.
If you enjoyed this show, please leave us a virtual high five by rating it and reviewing it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Find more information about each episode in the show notes, and follow us on social media by searching for @MoreOrLess, @DaveMorin, @Lesson, @JLesson, and as for me, I'm @Brit. See you guys next time.